Ayo everybody, it's me, Steve the Amateur Historian. Thinking I might do maybe sort of a lap around the mall. I don't know if that'll be too loud. I haven't really planned out my route, which usually I kind of do at least a little bit in advance before I start doing these videos, so that, you know, right in the middle of them I'm not like, wait a minute. I'll work it out. I can multitask like that. I can tell a story, figure out where I'm walking. Anyway, it's June 7th. 2021, y'all know what that means. It's a new day, and it's time for a new story. But before we get to that, remember as always to like, share, subscribe, hit up my Patreon. I'm always posting new stuff there for you in the form of like little podcast things I've done, previous unreleased content, old videos that I haven't re-released that you can only access if you become a patron today. Even if it's $1, it's worth it. You're getting more stuff and you're helping me as well. So there's a reciprocation there. The link, I almost said blank, the link to my Patreon is in the description of this video, as well as the links to my Instagram and Facebook pages closely related to the content I'm producing here on this channel, Steve the Amateur Historian. And all that said, I don't even know what to call this. This is just a goofy little story. This could sound like something straight out of the Great Depression days, where everyone's broke, everyone's desperate, everyone is starving. But this is not a Great Depression era story. In fact, this is a story from quite some time after the Great Depression. So there is a meat and bread shortage going along across America. And I mean, what are you gonna do? No meat, no bread, how are you supposed to survive? What are you gonna do, eat vegetables? So it kind of starts creating this little panic. It's kind of it seems to be kind of along the lines of, you know, the toilet paper buying frenzy that went on when COVID first started popping its ugly head up. And people just started going nuts. A lot of people were just buying toilet paper just out of paranoia. Apparently, you know, they was like, what are we gonna do when we're done using the toilet? The paper's gone. And then, you know, some people were buying it to try to resell it on a markup to, you know, take advantage of the desperation. And then other people were just buying a bunch of toilet paper because they were like, everybody's buying toilet paper. Like, I don't know why, but obviously I need to do that too. And it made people nuts is what it did. It made people absolutely nuts. Well, apparently when meat and bread go scarce, which at least I can understand that a little bit, when certain food items are becoming scarce as opposed to toilet paper, I can at least kind of understand people getting a little crazy. But people were going nuts. It was like when the new gaming consoles come out, like word would start spreading around town, like, hey, there's a shipment of meat coming in, and people would flock to wherever there was actually going to be some meat. And since there was a shortage, like, you know, if one particular market got a big bunch of meats, you'd think like people from like 50, 100 miles, things were almost hitting me, dude, 50, 100 miles around could be coming. So it was like, you know, we only got 100 of the new gaming consoles, so you get all these people trying to line up outside and fight. It's Black Friday type stuff. And that was kind of happening, these big long lines, bread lines, literally, you know, and meat lines. People were getting pretty desperate. Again, what am I gonna do without my bread and meat? And, you know, when resources are down, Americans are among the very best at getting greedy as hell. And yeah, they said, you know, people would start lining up, and then, you know, people would start showing up later and realizing they were too far back in the line to actually get something, and they would start trying to push ahead of other people, again, because we're the most selfish bastards on the face of the earth. And so, of course, fights would ensue. Men would start just fist fighting each other. Women, like, one woman, they reported like she walked by and was trying to cut. This other woman grabbed her by the hair and like pulled her back. So there's just fist fights, kind of unmonitored fist fights going on, because as the article stipulated, there was such a demand that the people that were running these meat shops, they were so busy cutting the meat up and preparing it to be sold before these people went insane and stormed the whole joint and started, you know, torching it and beating on them and stealing the meat, like, you know, just ravenous, psychotic animals. They were so busy hacking stuff up, they weren't going to stop to break up these fights. So it was genuine mass chaos. I'm surprised that I didn't find more articles about this kind of stuff, because this was happening nationwide. You know, when it comes to America, you're gonna have greedy people in New York, you're gonna have greedy people in Georgia, greedy people in Kansas, California, Montana. It don't matter. We're all Americans. We're all greedy to some level. And but one of the, you know, beyond the reports of people literally getting into fist fights over, you know, being in line to get some highly coveted meat, in multiple locations. This wasn't just like a one-time thing in one. This was happening in multiple locations. Bread truck drivers, which at the time, it seems there would just be one guy driving a truck, and he would go to, you know, the various stores to deliver their bread to put on their shelves. Multiple bread truck drivers, you know, when they would stop somewhere, they would get attacked by like a mad raging collection of housewives. That was the description, it was all housewives. How they can know for certain it was housewives, maybe it's just because it was the time that it was written. They're women, so they must be housewives, I guess. And literally bread truck drivers were being attacked by these swarming hordes of women that needed bread for their family. And literally they changed their system, and they started having someone who functioned in the capacity as a bodyguard travel with the bread truck drivers. So they literally would have a second man in the truck, and his sole purpose was, I guess, if housewives started storming these trucks, he would step outside to be like, "Step back, women." I mean, I don't know, was the guy carrying a gun? Was he carrying, I mean, what was this guy, like, let's say, you know, 10 housewives storm the truck. What was this one bodyguard supposed to do to stop them? Was he just given free rein to just start throwing fists? Did he have a taser? Did he have mace? Was he packing serious heat? Were these like cops? I don't, I mean, they don't elaborate, but I'm just thinking like, okay, you put one more guy in the truck. Well, if a horde of women start coming at you, like, what exactly is this one guy supposed to do to quash it? He's gonna step out of the truck and be like, "Ma'am, there's 2 of us now. So clearly the 10 of you are outnumbered." Like, what did they, I mean, I get it. You don't want to spend a bunch of money, get like, you know, 10 cops hanging off the truck. That's extra money you don't want to spend. So you give them like one guy and see how well that works. And if it doesn't work out too well, I guess you get him 2. I don't know. It's the classic, like, you know, you got a big problem to deal with, but you don't want to spend a bunch of money dealing with it. There is some more chaos. Last couple vlog videos I've done, there's been serious police activity, and I don't know what it's all about. But yeah, I don't know. But so it was insanity. It was COVID-19 starter toilet paper paranoia. And you know, I mean, while on the subject of the whole toilet paper insanity, there was further correlations between the two. You know, one was pretty much whenever a place would finally actually stock bread, in this case, you know, it'd be gone off the shelves, it'd be bare within, you know, a minute. And here's another thing, because I know for a fact that this happened with some, you know, toilet paper. People bought, you know, mass quantities of toilet paper and tried to sell it on a markup through, you know, online means, however you could, to try to you know, here's a 5-pack of toilet paper, but we're selling it for 20 bucks. You know, and some people got caught doing that. Some people got into legal trouble for that. I remember there was a big story about guys who bought a boatload of hand sanitizer and were trying to sell it on a markup, and they got busted for that, and, you know, the whole system shut down. And it says in this article that there was actually investigations underway to determine if there was some kind of bread black market. That's how it was described, a bread black market. I'm stuttering, just trying to get the words out because it's so ridiculous. But they genuinely were like, you know, when you know, they knew back then as well as we do today, when there's something in high demand and there's a shortage of it, people are going to try to take advantage of that by hoarding a bunch of it and then selling it on a markup. So they were like, they didn't know if there was a I can't say it. It's a tongue twister, a bread black market. You know, they didn't know for certain yet if that was actually a thing that was genuinely going on, but all the circumstances just set up a perfect situation for that kind of thing to exist. And you know, even though I have no clue myself, I'm like 98% sure that was going on. So it was probably worth investigating. Just, there was not enough meat and not enough bread, and people lost their minds. And I guess it makes sense. Makes more sense than toilet paper. And I'm sure there was probably plenty of other things going on, but as far as the one story I found about this, those were the main stories that were discussed. And I mean, you can just imagine what else might have also been going on in relation to this particular situation. The fact that we were low on meat and we were low on bread. These ducks like that. The ducks are like, I know people eat duck meat, so the hell with ya. And I agree, I'll never eat duck. Solidarity. I'm talking to a duck in the middle of a mall. Even this Canadian goose is looking at me like I'm nuts. And I am, you know, that's kind of a given at this point. Anyway, as far as I could tell, that was, you know, that was all the information that was conveyed in that story about this bread and meat shortage that went on, and just the insanity that was going on. Just the fact they were putting bodyguards on bread trucks. People are fist fighting in line to try to get their share of the meat. Like, it's hilarious, but it's so horribly depressing at the same time. And it's so, like, I know this kind of stuff can happen anywhere in the world, but it is just so America. It's so us. And that's, you know, one of the things that makes it even more tragic. So tragic that I need to stop talking about it now, or I'm gonna start weeping. See, I'm crying now. Not really, just trying to get your sympathy. So maybe you'll remember to like, share, subscribe. Maybe you'll hit up my Patreon. Even if you give me $1 a month or something small like that, it's duly appreciated. And on top of that, you get to see here like little extra podcast bits I do, previously unreleased old videos that aren't getting released again. A lot of extra stuff you can get, but you have to become a Patreon supporter for my channel in order to do that. The link is in the description below, as well as the links to my Instagram and Facebook pages, where I post a lot of Canadian geese imagery. I don't, but you can't walk past a goose and not like give them their due. But yeah, so the link to my Patreon is in the description of this video, as well as the link to my Instagram and Facebook pages, closely related to the content that I'm doing on this channel, Steve the Amateur Historian. And all that said, this has been Steve. Don't hoard your bread, or your meat, or your toilet paper. It's a douche move. And I'll see you tomorrow.